when the Philadelphia 76ers made their big move of giving Paul George that 4-year, $212 million contract this offseason. They thought they were getting a potential All-NBA star, someone who could take their team to the next level. They needed a 3 to send this one into overtime. George, the step away for the tie. Oh my goodness, he put in. God bless Paul George. Their vision was straightforward. If everything fell into place with Paul George returning to his dominant form, the hope was that a team built around him, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, would emerge as a legitimate contender, one that could come out of the Eastern Conference and win it all. But everything did not go right. Not only have the 76ers fallen short of being contenders, but they just might be watching the playoffs instead of competing in them if things don't turn around fast. Maxey has continued his rise as one of the best young players in the game, but Joel Embiid has missed a ton of time this year. As for Paul George, it's heartbreaking how bad he's been considering the amount of talent he has at his disposal. Before we continue, if you guys are enjoying the content, then stop what you're doing right now, drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell to ensure you never miss out on any more of this great content. I hear the noise, and it's just, it's gotten to a point where, at some point, all right, now you woke the bully. I have the bully. I really wish that this clip aged well for Paul George. This season, he has averaged 16.1 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 4.4 assists on 42.6% from the field and 36.3% from three. These numbers aren't terrible, but they don't even hold a candle to the 22.6 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 3.5 assists on 47.1% from the field and 41.3% from three that he averaged just the year before. Same situation, same Paul George. Tie game, just need 2. George with 5, George with a dribble, and that one's short. And I believe the Hornets. It has truly been a rough season for Paul. You could say that hindsight is 20/20, but before the ink had even begun to dry on the Paul George deal, it was clear to everyone that disaster was looming. Even 76ers GM Daryl Morey recognized the inherent risk, admitting in his own words that it was definitely risky, but it was also the best plan. He continued, saying that a risky plan doesn't mean it's a bad plan. It might just be the best plan. If Daryl Morey were a salesman, he would not be selling me anything. The uncertainty in Morey's quote speaks volumes. Deep down, he knew it was a bad idea, but with his back against the wall, he reluctantly doubled down, gambling everything on a risky move for a star who had more red flags than a meme coin started by a money-hungry influencer. I'm all for risking it for the biscuit, but you have to make sure that the risk you're taking is calculated, and that said biscuit is even obtainable. At 34, Paul George was already old for an NBA player. Despite coming off back-to-back All-Star seasons, he was already showing signs of regression. And like so many players in today's game, he's injury-prone, meaning you can't rely on him to carry you during the regular season. This isn't exactly the kind of player the 76ers should have been looking to pair up with the most injury-prone superstar in today's game. This team needed players who could help carry them during the regular season, not a guy who was just going to come in and eat their cap room. Surprise! Surprise! Injuries have already taken their toll on Paul George this season. To quote a recent Shams report, George has had little nagging injuries that have come up. Most recently, he's had tendon damage in his left pinky that he's been battling. He's been doing everything he can to stay on the court and be available, even getting injections to play over the last 4 or 5 games, which, according to Shams, is something you usually see players do during the playoffs, not the regular season. I respect Paul George's effort to compete and provide value to his team, but when you're dealing with issues this severe and putting up 2-point performances, you have to ask yourself, how much are you really helping? Maybe it's time to focus on getting healthy instead of pushing through whatever you're battling and playing at less than full strength. And what I said wasn't hyperbole. On February 12th, he struggled to get points on the score sheet, scoring just 2 points against the Brooklyn Nets in a losing effort for his team. 2 points, 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. That's brutal. In his defense, he did also record 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. But I mean, yeah, overall, the stat line still isn't too great. That night, Paul George played 37 minutes, but somehow got outscored by Bronny, who only played 8. I'm not saying things are getting Drusky level bad, but it's worth mentioning that Drewski actually topped Paul George's 2 points in the Celebrity All-Star game. And keep in mind that Drewski looks like he's never played a single minute of organized basketball in his life. Came home from the Paris Olympics with a silver medal. Jackson inside, recovery, and steal off the turnover. Drewski just used up all his gas to get that loose ball. He's a little hot. If the 76ers showed the same level of hunger that Drewski is showing here, then maybe there would be a different tone when we talk about how things have played out for them this season. I feel bad for the 76ers, man, but at least what they're paying Paul George makes me feel a whole lot better about what I'm paying for Netflix this month. It has really been an ugly situation for Paul George, whose mouth would only dig him into a deeper hole. Yeah, I mean, it's different. I'm used to scrapping and running around and chasing and fighting through screens. And to be honest, I'm bored. I know playing, on a 5 just doesn't do enough for me. At some point, it's just like, man, put away the shovel. Your hole is already deep enough. Midway through this post-game press conference, you could tell that he knew he was going to get cooked for what he said. He did a good job of trying to bring it back in, but unfortunately the damage was already done. Morey said that he listened to every single Paul George podcast before signing him. You're telling me that you listened to all of his top-tier podcast content, heard him say things like, at this point, it's not even about chasing a championship, it's about chasing the right style of basketball, and you still decided to give him a truckload of money? With that quote, it seemed pretty clear to me that Paul George wasn't focused on winning. Instead, he was just out to get a hefty paycheck while enjoying the freedom to play however he wanted. I have to give it to Paul George. This guy did everything but tell his next team that he was going to take them to the cleaners, and he still got every penny he wanted. This season, Paul George finds himself as the 8th highest paid player in the league. That's right, he's making more than Giannis, Dame, A.D. Brunson, and even Luka Doncic. The players I just named are some of the best, most consistent, and most accomplished players in the NBA, and Paul George is earning more than all of them. To say that's crazy is an understatement. It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that somebody who hasn't been able to stay healthy, hasn't won a championship, and has never quite reached the level of some of those other players is somehow commanding a bigger paycheck. It's one of those situations where the numbers just don't add up. Anyways, there's some work going on in the basketball world that I need to be covering, so clicking the video on the screen right now and using code COOP4UNDERDOG are both great ways to support this channel. I'm Get Like Coop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.